Why hello there everyone, and welcome to a commentated playthrough of my very first successful clear in Hades.
So you are son to Hades by that Nyx, the night goddess, is that correct, nephew? Well, I suppose she's closest to a queen as your lord fathers like to find down there. I tried to match him up with some more wholesome types, but no, and here we are.
Didn't want to talk over Zeus himself. Anyways, keep in mind that I'm actually super new to this game. This was actually my 11th attempt overall. So there's still lots about the game I don't know yet, but I am excited to discover all of it. But despite that, I will be explaining my decision making and my thoughts that were happening in said run, because I'm recording this voiceover after the fact, because obviously when I was doing the run I didn't know if it was going to be successful or not. So first up, the first thing we grabbed was Lightning Flourish, I think it's called. That arc lightning ability, which seems to synergize really well with the Aegis. Obviously, I haven't been able to try the gauntlet nor the gun weapon yet, because like I said, I only recently started the game, and so I have access to the sword, the bow, the lance, and the Aegis. And out of those, the Aegis seems to be the best, at least in my opinion. And the arc lightning just seems to really synergize well with the shield's right click. Well, it's what I have set to right click. Special. I have special set to right click, attack set to left click, obviously, and then I have an extra button on the side of my mouse for the cast. Dash strike deals more damage. Is that what I wind up getting? I think I wind up getting deadly strike here. Normally, I actually wouldn't have gotten deadly strike there if I brought the right keepsake. I have the acorn equipped right now as the keepsake, but I actually wanted to bring Sisyphus's keepsake, because that makes it where you get a very significant damage buff on each of your things when they don't have a boon equipped. So it's effectively like starting with a boon that gives you a bunch of damage, and then when you pick up a boon, it replaces that, or at least from how I understand it. And so that makes it where you start out really strong, and then you can just focus. What I was doing with it is that I was just getting boons for my special, but not my regular attack, so that way my attack just pretty much had a buff at the start, and then I was able to invest all my other boons in the special. But I forgot to swap out my keepsake for the Sisyphus keepsake, and so I'm using the acorn, like I said. The reason being is that in these runs, what I've been doing is I start with the Sisyphus keepsake, and then I switch to the acorn. Once I get into the harder parts, what the acorn does is that
Gods grant me strength.
It makes you invulnerable to the first few attacks of a floor boss, which is very significant, but obviously not very necessary on the first few floors where the bosses are easy. But I didn't feel like restarting the run just because of that, so I went with it. Hence why I picked up that attack, a boon. Shop there. So I'm effectively able to take out a lot of these enemies off screen with how good all first damage taken there. I'm effectively able to take out these enemies from off screen with this Aegis coupled with the arc lightning.
I can use that back home.
Lightning Flourish, I think it's called. I get anything here? Okay, going into a Demeter room. So what I pick up in here actually becomes a very significant part of the run. So pretty much what my whole build is going to revolve around is this Lightning Flourish with the Aegis. So I basically just buff out my special, so that way I can just keep on chucking the shield like that, full Captain America style. This Aegis really feels similar to a certain Crusader build in Diablo 3. The Crusader, he could throw his shield Captain America style just like this, but my build winds up being pretty much based on the special for the Aegis, like I said, and now what I'm about to pick up here is Demeter's cast. So it's sort of a keep away build between Crystal Beam. That's what it's called. I'm reading what they do here. None of Demeter's boons really seem to be immediately apparently good to me, aside from this cast. I like this cast a lot because I keep forgetting to use my cast. I'll probably get more used to it once I keep playing, but as for now, I just keep forgetting to use my cast, and so I like one where you can just throw it out and then not have to think about it anymore. And obviously, since the run is early, since we're still early in the run, I'm going to go for maximum risky business by taking these chaos deals. Pretty much a good rule of thumb in any kind of roguelike is to play at high risk at the start, and then as you get further and further in, play it more and more safely. Okay. You're about to see something really embarrassing, but I somehow lived through it. So let's just say I was trying to keep the run exciting. It actually, there's a really close call coming up, you will see. So I take this, it'll make it where my dash strike, or, no, not that, this. I'm getting the one where it'll give me more max health. But doing my regular attack will hurt me. Normally that would be no bueno, but I figured it would be fine here. Just because I'm doing most of my damage with my special anyway, so I can just stay far away and chuck the shield with it. And for some reason, I attack a pot right after I get that, and I think it's because mentally, I was just subconsciously conceptualizing it as in, oh, I will take damage when I attack an enemy with my attack, and so I didn't think that attacking a pot would count, even though if I logically think about it, I knew that. It's just subconsciously I didn't think about it. And then, even though this is only my 11th run, I've gotten into this game really easily and really fast, so I feel like I've been playing it for a while, even though I haven't, and so I'm really in the zone here when I play, and so I have to keep actively reminding myself to not hit attack, even though I know that I'm not supposed to be doing a regular attack here. But then, see, I do it anyway. I already have a muscle memory built up for this, which is hard to fight. So, on one hand, that's sort of impressive, but on the other hand, I need to not keep hurting myself. Look at that. I literally have 1 HP. Literally, that goof was 1 HP away from ending this run, and it wound up being my first successful run. So, that's a pretty exciting part right off the bat here. So, I'm really glad I didn't kill myself there. But I finally started taking it seriously at 1 HP. So yeah, definitely want that heart after that.
Oh, good.
So that's pretty fortunate to be able to heal up. Right there. And then just checking the room out. And for some reason, I couldn't tell if there was a pot hiding behind there or something, and so I tried to attack it, and yet again, I hurt myself. Hopefully that's the last time I do that. I don't think it is. I'm literally doing this voiceover right after I beat the run. But obviously, the run takes about an hour, so don't remember everything at the very start. The traps in this game seem to be very serious. Sometimes I take more damage from the traps than the actual enemies. Oh yeah, and right there, for some reason, I was thinking that if I did the attack, but I held it, so the shield, if you hold the attack, you get to go into that shield bash. Mentally, I was conceptualizing that as a separate thing. Like, my brain had a separate compartment for that, as opposed to just a regular click. Even though the game, you know, you count it as the same, because you still have to click to hold it. You click and then hold, so I still take damage by holding it. Even though my brain was sort of compartmentalizing them as separate, I still took damage from that. So I continue to hurt myself, and somehow win, despite that. All these annoying little enemies, like these skulls, these clattering scows. Sorry, I should have given a scowl warning at the start of this. This game should have just a giant scowl warning on the cover, even though it doesn't have a physical edition yet. Wait, does it? I don't know. If they make a physical edition for the Switch. I know it's on the Switch now that it's in version 1.0, but there's a physical edition. I might want to get it for Switch just for my collection since I'm liking this game so much. Speaking of version 1.0 though, the reason why I didn't get into this game during early access was just because I'm usually not a fan of getting into early access games because I effectively feel like I'm just paying to play a beta test. Like I'm paying to beta test a game for someone, which I'm not particularly a fan of. So now that it's in version 1.0, that's why I'm all over this. Because literally I can't think of a single negative about this game so far. I like everything about it. So first of all, I'm already a fan of mythology. That's part of why I named the YouTube channel Tanuki Tale, because even though tanukis are real animals, they have a pretty big presence in Japanese mythology. And I just love mythology in general, including Japanese mythology and Greek mythology. So I'm already a fan of Greek mythology, so with the premise of this game already has me hooked. I'm trying to find this last enemy here. I finally find him hiding back there. So the premise I'm already a fan of, and the art style is just pristine. The art, both I and my brother agree. Me or I? I agree. Yeah, so both I and my brother, my brother and I both agree that the art in this game is definitely something to be impressed by. And in addition to the art is just the music. Obviously, more people know about the art because just glancing at the game, the art's a lot more apparent. But I just love how heavy the music is in this, particularly during the boss fights, which are coming up. And of course, you obviously know I'm a fan of action games as well. And oh, this is the first time I'm fighting this Fury, by the way, too.
Finally. I've been waiting for this. Really.
You must be one of Megaros' lovely sisters. I don't believe we've had the pleasure. Waiting for what exactly?
So sick of, you know, doing my regular job, uninterrupted, not having to clean up Meg's messes.
I get the feeling we're starting off on the wrong foot.
Anyway, I always wanted to kill a god. You'll have to do.
Each of the Furies have a pretty different moveset. So I had to sort of adapt in the moment here. Also, there is a spike trap that I just stepped on, I think. Yeah, there's a spike trap there that's sort of hidden by the wall, and then I'm walking on more. I don't remember if those spike traps were there during the Meg fights, but I didn't remember them there, which is why for some reason I was just ignoring them. So much stuff going on. There's so many particle effects and things moving. It's sometimes really hard to keep track of just not dodging into the spikes. But as I was saying, something I love about the gameplay in this, and this is just good game design philosophy that I'm always a fan of, and it's that you feel really overpowered because all these boons give you these crazy buffs, and you have so much mobility and movement with all the dashes and everything, and how you can cancel attacks into a dash, and how you can cancel out of a dash into an attack. And so it's a little overwhelming with how much movement and offense you can do. And so whenever you die, you never really feel like it's the game's fault. You always feel like, oh, I should have used my resources a bit better. And so that just keeps it fun even when you lose, which, like I said, is a piece of game design philosophy I'm a big fan of. Whether that's what they were going for or not. Well, obviously, they were going for a good game design. I just don't know if specifically that's something they had in mind, the way I articulated it. Probably something along the lines. I mean, they are the ones that made it after all. So, my general strat here is I'm just basically chucking the shield with the special from a distance, since that's my main means of damage. And then if she gets a little closer, if she's about to charge, I do my charged up attack and just block her attack, and then immediately after she charges into me and I block her attack, I counter attack her by releasing the attack. And also I can block her projectiles by holding that as well, and then immediately attacking her once she's done. Look at that, right on the spikes. If I didn't kill her there, I think that would have hit me.
It's dark, all right.
Up we go. So next up is ASPHODEL.
You're not permitted to leave, Tartarus.
Next stop, ASPHODEL.
And if I was using the keepsake I wanted at the start, I would probably still keep the Sisyphus keepsake here, because if I had the Sisyphus keepsake from the start, I wouldn't have gotten an attack boon, and so I would have kept the Sisyphus keepsake in Asphodel, and then I would have swapped it when I got to Elysium for the Theseus boss fight. But,
Be there soon, Bone Hydra.
despite that, I have to say, the acorn still definitely helps during the Hydra fight, the Bone Hydra. Even though I don't necessarily need it, it is still nice, so it's not useless. And of course, I didn't want to switch to the Sisyphus keepsake now that I already have all of my slots filled up with boons, because then it would be pointless. I didn't mention it when I picked it up, but that Athena dash seems like the best dash. The Dionysus dash seems pretty good too for damage, but I really love that Athena dash because, you know, not only do you have to not worry about getting damaged when you're dashing, but it reflects projectiles, so if you just dash right before you get hit with the projectile, not only are you safe from it, but you're going to reflect it back and deal damage that way, so... without it, you really have to worry a bit more about where you're dashing and when, but with it, you can pretty much just dash everywhere and just deflect everything. So, that seems really strong. My favorite boons so far are that, what I just mentioned, the Athena dash, and then the Lightning Flourish for the Aegis at least, and,
In the name of Hades.
I'd have to say the, cast I have. Although it doesn't really get good until I start buffing it with more things. What do I get here? I think I go with the top one here. Cannot collect, oh yeah, I go with the top one. So I have to wait longer before I can pick up my... I forgot what that resource is called, but the crystals that you need for your cast. Oh, no, I remembered... Okay, I remembered what my actual 3 favorite boons were so far. After I said the Athena dash and the Zeus's lightning flourish, I couldn't remember what the third one was, so I just said, oh, it must have been the Demeter cast. But no, it is a Hermes boon. It's the Hermes boon that makes your special faster. So that way, the reason why that's good with the Aegis is because when you chuck the shield out with your special, you have to wait until it returns before you can do a regular attack. And so with your special being faster, it returns to you much faster as well. And so you're not really left hanging as much as you would be without it. Because sometimes you throw out the shield and then you want to guard, but you have to wait for it to come back. But when it comes back really fast, you don't really have to worry about that. Pretty open floor here. It's making it pretty easy for me to hit them off screen. Also, let me know if you like this video. If you like the video, hit the like button, so that way I know if I should make more. I plan on uploading some more Hades videos, not only because I like the game so much, but I think it would be cool if I uploaded subsequent successful runs, but not just any sort of subsequent successful runs, but maybe some successful runs that are particularly unique, like maybe it's a really unorthodox build, or maybe another run that has a really close call, things like that. So yeah, let me know. Let me know what you want to see from the Hades videos aside from that. Because like I said, I'm really liking this game. And even though I've just done my first successful attempt, there's still tons of stuff I need to do. Do I go for Hermes here? Yes, I do. I think I do get the Hermes boon that I was just talking about here, which is where I can start really popping off. I'm a little nervous about dashing like crazy here because I don't want to end up in the lava, as I often do. like that.
Good night.
Hazards really keep you on your toes.
You paid already for my pop, haven't you, cuz? Wonderful guy. Don't get to spend a lot of time together, though. You know how that is. Well, see ya.
Yeah, there it is. Special is faster. I do like Side Hustle, though. Side Hustle is pretty nice if you can get it early, but having my special be faster is just too nice with the Aegis. So yeah, the Lightning Flourish and that Hermes boon on the Aegis seems like... they both seem like a must-have. Or even if they're not a must-have, they're definitely something you would want with the Aegis.
Have to say, the barge of death is never late.
This is a cool room. Setting up in the corner, basically. So I'm still having to wait a while until I can pick up those cast charges again. But that's not really that big of a deal. Another thing this combat kind of reminds me of is that the combat feels like an isometric version of Dead Cells, which is another roguelike I'm a big fan of. I used to stream a decent amount of Dead Cells. I think I still have some of the videos on the YouTube channel if you're interested in checking that out. Keep in mind, that was about 2 years ago, so the production quality has definitely gotten better since then. But if you want to see it, it's there. But in the meantime, this is definitely my roguelike of choice. Just everything about it, it's like it was made for me. So the gameplay is pretty self-explanatory here. Sometimes when I'm in the middle of the gameplay and I have that cast zapping things, I sometimes think that it's an enemy attack or something, and I try to avoid my own ice beam even though I don't need to. Just because you're sort of in this mode, your brain is in this mode where you're trying to dodge any kind of particle effect like that. What do I get here? I get the middle one here because I don't really have anything that can crit, first of all, so the middle one was the only one that I would actually get an immediate use for. But also, this starts buffing my cast, and like I said, the cast slowly but surely becomes a very significant part of this build by the end. Being a little careful here because, once again, don't want to end up in the lava. Even though it doesn't do too much damage, but it does add up.
Come try me.
I have to keep reminding myself, too, that these enemies drop bombs after you kill them. Oh, like that.
Not now. Got her.
Got him, finally. Daedalus Hammer. I think I do this to make it where it can ricochet more. No, I don't get the ricochet. Oh, no, I do. Okay, yeah, Dread Fight. So this is another really good... This synergizes really well with the Lightning Flourish and the sped up special. So the Hermes boon that's making this faster, and the Zeus boon that's making it arc lightning to other enemies, and what I just got that makes it ricochet more, all synergize really well, and it basically just allows you to chuck out the shield and then you let it do its work before it comes back to you. I think The reason why I was looking at my boons right there was to just keep track of what I had and to see if I really did have all 3 of those things.
You must have a lot of stops around these parts, don't you, Charon mate? Most of the dead are here in ASPHODEL, correct?
Well said.
I'll just have a look around. Just what I need.
Now, Zacharias, once you arrive, we'll have to find for you a suitable mate, won't we? Such as yourself. Normally, there's much to choose from around here, with some exceptions, of course, such as my cunning daughter, Artemis. Willfully uninclined to take a mate at all.
Oh, this is where I get one of those fusions.
Yes, Zacharias, in spite of all these perfect, chiseled prospects everywhere about yearning to marry or embarrass me, for some reason, I prefer to spend my time mostly alone or with my nymph friends in the woods.
Ooh.
Okay, so I wasn't sure how useful this would be, but the fact that I could sort of throw out my cast and then not have to worry too much about picking it up, since it being left out, dealing damage. Let me restart that sentence. Sometimes, I don't know, when the sentence goes so long, I sort of forget the structure of it. Basically, being able to do a cast. Normally when you do a cast, you know, you'd want to immediately go pick up the charge again, so that way you can use it again. But leaving the charge out, it'll zap enemies that are nearby with lightning. So, not picking it up immediately is now not necessarily a bad thing. Now you can just sort of leave it out and then pick it up whenever you want. So that sounded appealing. I didn't know how good it was going to be, but it does pay off. So here's the Bone Hydra. And this is the first time I'm fighting this variant of it. There seem to be a few different variants. So the Aegis pretty much trivializes the difficulty of the Bone Hydra in the first phase. But obviously, once he spawns the other heads, then you actually have to play the game. And so I try to start strategically placing these casts where they can start zapping enemies once they become pick-upable. So I'm really liking my build at this point. And of course, I'm just deflecting those projectiles each time he shoots it out.
Not appreciate that.
It's a little weird how this boss fight undulates between the extremely peaceful phase, where I can just sit in the bottom part of the map, and then it violently switching to this phase. And back and forth and so on. But even though there aren't many boss fights in this game, at least not many boss fights that I know of yet, they're all pretty solid. I like all the boss fights. It didn't even show it. It didn't even show it, it didn't show a death animation when it said the Hydra vanquished there. I think it's normally supposed to, but I think I killed it off screen, so it just didn't show up for some reason. So on to ELYSIUM. So this is normally where I would plan to get the acorn keepsake, but I already have it, so I don't need to do anything with that. And me having it at the start obviously worked out. I was checking to see if it got to rank 3 right there.
Do I still need these?
Oh yes, I end up selling the Deadly Strike here, so I can buy something at the shop. I go back to check to see how much it costs. And it costs 50. Yeah, I want the extra charge for my cast. For obvious reasons, because not only does that mean I can shoot out more ice beams, but if I'm able to litter the room full of these cast charges that are zapping nearby enemies, I can pretty much make the whole room full of traps for the enemies. And I can just deal this hands-free damage. Passive income, you might say.
Onward then.
So now we're in Elysium.
ELYSIUM.
Did I go for Hermes here? Huh, I don't. I guess it's because I already got the Hermes boon that speeds up my special, which is the main Hermes boon I'm after whenever I go into a Hermes room, so I remember thinking that if I already got that, there's not really much other reason to get a Hermes boon, so I might as well just start stocking up on HP, because I'm doing pretty well on offense here, so no harm in just beefing up before the Theseus and Minotaur boss fight.
Should keep me going.
We have a pretty awkward amount of max HP because of that one chaos deal we took early. So it's not an even number. Oh, speaking of chaos deals, here's another one. And since I'm pretty healthy, I go for it.
Going in.
And I wasn't too big of a fan of the 2 gate options I had. So going in here, it'll give me a different one. So I'm basically re-rolling the gate options I have. I go for the middle one here, nerfing my dash range. Normally, that sounds kind of scary, but I figured that since I can deflect attacks with my dash, I don't really have to move far with my dash. I can pretty much just use my dash as a spot dodge, essentially. A spot dodge to deflect things, and I don't have to worry about moving around. Especially since I'm mostly just a zoning build right now anyway, and I set up in a corner and I don't really move around much. And this was actually the first time I got one of these rooms in Elysium.
Amid Elysium's moss-covered chambers, carved of stone, stand untold numbers of eternal monuments in tribute to the greatest heroes which mortality can offer, there to honor them in life as well as death.
This place is near as gloomy as the house.
Well, go on, stranger. Plenty more shades looking to fight with you out there.
I'm just passing through. You seem less warlike than the rest. May I ask your name, sir? I'm Zagreus.
Names are there to be forgotten, stranger. You shouldn't be here. May the fates favor your journey. But just in case they don't, here, why don't you take this?
So the game doesn't tell you who this is, but I wonder if they're eventually going to reveal the name. They probably will. So I'm curious to see who that is. Anyways, I go for even though the top option's really nice, replenishing all your Death Defiance, I have not used up a Death Defiance yet, so obviously won't have a use for that. So I go for the second one there, just to keep myself healthy up to the Theseus boss fight. And I don't have much money here, so I don't go to the Charon shop.
Got to use the fountain to get out of here.
So now I can crush armor pretty easily with the Bull Rush boon here. So if any kind of big armored enemy starts walking up to me, I can pretty much crack their armor. And then keep everyone else at bay, which rounds out the build pretty well. And I can heal. I got the healing room, so I can heal up, but it's pretty overkill considering I'm healing by going into each room after that gift I just got. So you can see my dashes are extremely short. So I'm pretty much just using it as a spot dodge to reflect projectiles. Sometimes I forget that it's a weakened dodge though, and I try to use it to move around. Because like I said earlier, I already have a muscle memory for the game. And so I'm just kind of playing out of instinct, and I have to keep reminding myself my dash is barely moving me. This butterfly's doing damage. Another thing that's nice about the Aegis shield is that when you throw it, it destroys projectiles that it intercepts. So even without it having a deflect boon, if you are directly in an enemy's line of sight and you throw the shield, it'll destroy anything in between you and the opponent. At least it seems to do that with most projectiles, which is nice.
Butterflies. Ugh.
More Zeus boons. Checking what I have again.
Olympus, I accept.
I was particularly looking if I had anything with bolt. Anything that causes bolt. That at the top is just for attacks, not specials. Attack is my left click, like basic attack. I go for a high voltage here. Even though I don't have a call yet. I end up not even getting any kind of call this whole run, just because whenever I have the option to get a call, I prefer to get something else that's also offered. So now the arc has a much bigger range, which is just snowballing this build even further. Also, this build makes it where I really don't have to worry at all about those explosive chariots. I imagine those explosive chariots would be really scary with either the sword or the spear. So I'm going to have to figure out how to approach these enemies once I start playing more with the sword and spear. I like the sword more than the spear. The sword's really fun. I just think that the Aegis is better. The spear just feels a little too basic for me. I like the combo that comes with the sword. And I actually have not done a run with the bow yet. But obviously I intend to end up playing at least once with all of them. Trying out all the weapons at least once. Pomegranate.
Delicious.
So I'm able to upgrade the Thunder Flourish here, which is what I end up doing, I'm pretty sure. Yes, I was thinking about the high voltage. But even though 72% to 90-something% is a significant increase in the range, I'm already pretty much hitting all the enemies that are clumped up together anyway, so I'd rather just go for damage.
There's more.
Sort of feels like a tower defense game with all these ice beam casts. My dash is still really short here. I have to do one more encounter before that goes away. Fortunately, I lost track of the rooms, and I was starting to worry that I would have to do the Theseus fight with the nerfed dash, but fortunately it goes away before the boss fight. So here's a dual boon room. I pick Zeus first, just because I'd rather have his first, so that way I can use his boons. Since I'm already doing that, I can just keep on synergizing. Plus, I like Zeus's boons more than Artemis's boons anyway. But picking Zeus means I'm going to have to get shot by Artemis's arrows while having a dash that makes me not move very far. So the whole time I'm pretty much having to spam dash and just... You'll see. I'm having to deflect the arrows instead of dodging them, mostly. A little funny, but I do make it through pretty handily despite that. So see, I'd imagine the speed of that is balanced around the player dashing to get away from them, but they're pretty much on me the whole time. It seems to be a given that these double boon rooms are always super tough, but even if you take some damage, I think they're worth it.
My chaos boon switched to a new effect.
And remember, I literally just started playing this game, so these are just my impressions so far. If you know a better way to play, or if you know a better meta or something like that, by all means, hit me in the comments with what you know or what you recommend. I was thinking about getting an 8 here because, like I said, I don't have a call yet, but I'm doing a whole bunch of damage with the arc lightning and all these extra little tiny attacks. I figured that the crit chance on every damage I do would really pay off in aggregate. And I do have a significant amount of money at this point, so I go in here. And I don't want to buy the heart because obviously I could have just gone into the other door for the heart without paying for it. So I go for the Artemis boon.
You know, one thing I'll say for Charon there, he doesn't talk too much. And since neither do you, I'm letting you have this.
Oh yeah, and now I get yet another cast use. Oh, that actually adds 2. So I get 2 more cast uses. So now I can chuck out a lot. Okay, so I have 6 here. Okay. As I said, I have 6 here. But at a certain point before the final boss, I only have 5 max casts instead of 6. So somehow I lose one. I think
you seek to break through to the surface of the world, but you shall not achieve your goal whilst I yet live and breathe, or the equivalent of it here in the splendors of Elysium.
And you leave me with little choice but to make you shut up already, and your bull-headed manservant there.
That Minotaur whom you address is my dear friend, you preconceiving stain upon the earth. Asterius and I are brothers here in death, as we were enemies in life. Not that you could ever understand fraternal bonds as strong as ours.
had to let Theseus speak there. Theseus, his lines in this are so good. He has some sick comebacks. Anyways, what I was saying is that, I was under the assumption that you don't have to pick up all of your casts. You don't have to pick up, I was under the assumption that you don't have to pick up all of your cast uses when you leave a room, because when you leave a room, you sort of automatically get them all back. They all sort of zip over back to you when you're leaving. And I think I lost one of them late in the run because of that. So maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. So that's a little weird. Anyways, should keep an eye out to figure out when exactly that happens. When it happened, I thought I noticed it, but then I thought, nah, I doubt that happened. I guess I just, because I thought I had 6, and then when I saw 5, it made me doubt myself, like, oh, maybe I only had 5, even though I thought I had 6. Anyways, as for this boss fight here, I'm mostly focused, see, I'm actually trying to focus the Minotaur first. That's been my strategy thus far, is to just run circles around the room and focus the Minotaur. So that way I can just sort of dash to dodge the spears that Theseus throws. But as I'm running around the room, kiting the Minotaur, I'm throwing out my casts facing inwards, and they seem to be doing enough damage to Theseus that I actually am able to take him out first, unintentionally, just because these casts are doing a lot more damage than I was expecting. So that's kind of interesting. Now I just have to finish kiting the Minotaur. The only attack of his I really need to be wary of is that last attack in his combo. That really long-range lunge attack. It's so fast, and it can go so far. I pretty much just have to dodge as soon as I'm anticipating it. That bull rush attack, I can just block. I got hit by something at the same exact time he died, so when that happened, it sort of freaked me out, thinking that I died for a moment.
Thank you.
This spear here, every now and then on a floor, there's just this weird purple spectral version of a weapon, and I don't know if that has any kind of mechanic to it. I don't know if that's just part of the room or if there's actually a way to interact with that. So if you know, please let me know as well. I'm thinking maybe like you need to be using the spear to interact with the spear. I don't get anything here. I save my money. So now we are on the Temple of STYX, is it called? It looks like the labyrinth from the map here. Temple of STYX, yes. So, I was actually playing this run shortly after I ended a live stream. So the day I did this run, it was my first day streaming the game. And the last run in that stream, I got to the final boss, but I died at the final boss. So then after I ended the stream, I took a break and then started playing while recording. And so I already had gotten here before, so I knew what to expect to a degree. And the first time I got here, which was the last time I got here, I went into all the rooms, even after finding the item for Cerberus, I continued to clear all the rooms just so that way I could get as many boons as possible before the final boss, but I was going through them so well and going through it unscathed, but then at the very end of the very last room I lost a huge chunk of my HP, and then I had to do the final boss with that setback. So this time, I don't do all of these rooms here. The first one I go to is the money or the pomegranate? Money. Yeah, I do the money first, so that way I can buy something in that shop. So these rats are actually kind of scary because they can poison you. I discovered pretty quickly that, yeah, drinking from that hot spring heals your poison. So if you get poisoned there, you just have to immediately dash over and heal the poison. Unfortunately, for the rats, however, I've been playing a lot of Vermintide off stream with my brother, and so my rat slaying capabilities are at their peak right now. All these rooms are really small too, which makes it a little bit nerve-wracking when you first get in there because you have to immediately sort of assess the situation. So I just immediately start chucking the shield, and with the small rats, the shield and the lightning flourish is really good because you can just hit one and then the lightning pretty much just arcs to everyone else in the room and takes care of them. But I'm still playing carefully just because of that poison. See, look. Now I have 5. I think it didn't suck up all the cast uses there or something. Once again, I wasn't looking at it as it was happening, even though I told myself to be ready for it. But that threw me off just as much as it did when I was playing the run in real time. I had to sort of do a double take, and then I sort of questioned if I really had 6 before, or if I had always had 5, but nope, I definitely had 6 before, so something happened there, so from now on, I'm just going to manually pick up all those cast uses, because 5's still a lot, but obviously, why would I want to lose any if I don't need to? Grab the money. And that lets me buy something back in the main room.
Down the chute. Got to find something for Cerberus.
I just go ahead and buy the Demeter boon here because
Cheers, mate.
I doubted that I would be able to get enough money to buy any of the other things anyway, so I just went ahead and got what I could buy now, so that way it would help me in the rooms I was right about to go to, just so that way it would decrease the chances of me getting hurt before doing the final boss. So finally, I get to upgrade the Ice Beam cast itself, and that makes it where when I cast it, I get this little shockwave around me that chills enemies. And that just makes my build a little bit more defensive. So now I can kind of stay in a corner, throw out the casts, and not only does that shockwave knock them back, but the chill slows them down too. So I'm feeling pretty confident with my build at this point. Like I said, this was shortly after I had gotten to the final boss on the live stream, and so I was feeling really confident about being able to beat him the next time I got there. And so at this point, with a build like that, I was feeling pretty good about it. Still trying to be super careful though, because I do not want to lose a majority of my health again in one of these rooms right before the final boss. I actually wouldn't mind doing a lot of these rooms. I would just like, ideally, for the room with the Cerberus item to be the last room, because once you get to the end of the room with the item that you need to bring to Cerberus, there's a pool that heals you fully, and so then if you go straight to the final boss after that, you can fight the final boss with full health. But obviously, if you do rooms after that, you're risking not having full health when you get to the final boss. So I know I'm not really going to die in any of these rooms. I'm just trying to keep as much health as possible for the fight that's coming up. Took me a second to find where that poison cleanser was, the antidote. Finally found it. Did take some damage from it though because of that. Oh, there's also one in the middle of the room. So much of this gameplay is literally just getting in the zone and letting your mechanical skills take over. So even though that antidote in the middle of the room might have been easier to get to, I just went straight for the other one, since that was the first one I saw. Okay, so I like the fact that I already did 2 rooms without having found it, because that means that, like I was explaining, I can get a bunch of these items, and then by the time I get to the right room and get my health topped off, I will have already gotten a bunch of the items. Whereas the last time I was here, I got to the room with the Cerberus item really early, so then if I wanted to get any of the other items, I would have to be risking losing my max health. And I only have 84 gold here right now, and I know that I'm probably not going to get enough to buy something else in that main room, so I just go ahead and buy something here just to keep my health topped off. To be as safe as possible on the final stretch. Can't let your guard down. And here it is.
Good enough to eat.
So here I'm actually upgrading the damage of the crystal beam. Whereas the last upgrade for the crystal beam I got just applies to any kind of cast.
It's still fresh.
Deep within the desecrated layer of the god-defiling satyrs lie the noisome contents of their profane rituals, so foul as to be indescribable.
Cerberus just loves the stuff.
So that's the last boon I get. And then I top off my health here.
don't have coin in them. Maybe I should check the other passageways before I leave.
And so there are only 2 other rooms, and they both have the little skull icon, meaning that they have tougher enemies in there, so I do not risk it. Having only 2 left over is a pretty happy medium in my book. So now here comes the final boss.
See you, boy.
Cerberus vanquished. He's fine.
Father.
The sea, the heavens and the earth. All of this belongs to my brothers. We are their kin by birth, but we are foreigners in their country.
No. No mournful speeches. Now get out of my way.
You impertinent brat. Fine. Impulsiveness runs in the family.
Shut up.
Okay, so I immediately just start respecting him and hitting him from a safe distance. Because the arena is kind of small, I can pretty much constantly be in a state of casting the ice beam and then picking up cast uses that expired. And I don't have to worry too much about his extra little things that he throws out. The additional scowls, if you leave those scowls unchecked, they will explode and create a shockwave that you have to dash through to evade. But with all of this arc lightning, I really don't have to deliberately try to destroy them too much, because most of the times they just take damage, take enough damage to be destroyed anyway. And the last time I was here, I actually died on this first phase, but I already knew he had a second phase because when this game was in early access, I had seen this boss fight before. Even though I actually had not seen the ending of the game before. As far as I'm aware, the ending in this game, the ending that happens after this fight, was not in early access. It only got added in version 1.0, so this was my first time seeing the ending, which I have included in the recording, so you can look forward to that at the end. But as for the gameplay, his second phase did not surprise me. Not only is it obvious because I had seen it already, but a second phase for any final boss is pretty expectable. Expected. Is expectable a word? So I'm just sticking to the strategy here. Still haven't taken any damage because of that keepsake. That keepsake's really paying off. And it's still only at rank 2. Looking at it now, it needs 2 more encounters for it to max out at rank 3, so...
To have been brought this low by my own ungrateful child. I would expect such treatment from my brothers, but from you...
Here's phase 2. As I was saying, though, by the next time I'm here, I should have the keepsake maxed out, because it only needs 2 more encounters. And then it'll protect me from even more hits. So I still haven't lost any HP here, because of that acorn. Oh no, that's how many uses it has. Okay, never mind. Like I said, I'm still new at this game, so I'm still learning. The amount of, the number by the acorn there is the amount of uses, so now I just used up my last one. And I'm glad that Zagreus says something when it gets used up. He just said shields down, because obviously there's so much stuff going on screen. It's really hard to keep track of the HUD at the same time. My peripheral vision really is not keeping track of the HUD when I play this game, so having the voice cues is nice. So I'll have to check I'll have to check how many more encounters that Acorn needs to reach rank 3. But nice to know, nice to figure out that they actually show you the amount of uses remaining. Because sometimes I'm curious, but I guess you really don't need to look at it, because regardless of how many uses the Acorn has left, it shouldn't change the way you're playing, because a rule of thumb in any video game, if you're going full tryhard, attempting to beat a boss, a rule of thumb is to always play as if you had 1 HP. Always play as if you could not get hit, even once, even if you can get hit. Because if you start playing like you have more than 1 HP, you'll start to play recklessly, needlessly recklessly. So here's the one death defied I end up using. I was really close to being able to not use it. I was really close. I was starting to think that I could do this run without using it, and it was pretty close. But I used one, and after I use that one, I'm not too worried because I have an extra one as well from upgrading it in the room. And there we go.
How? You... Go then. Go! Get out of here! Get out!
I told you that I would, Father. And I'm going to. Goodbye.
Wait, just... If you find her... If you somehow find her... Tell her something for me. Tell her Cerberus is doing very well.
What? Wait, I don't think I owe you any favors here. So answer me one question and I'll give it some thought. How's that?
I know your question, boy. But ask it anyway.
Persephone, my mother, why did she leave?
Blood and darkness. There is no escape.
Hades Vanquished. Did you see that Castius just awkwardly get sucked into Zagreus during the dialogue? Little awkward timing there. Anyways, here are the post-screen stats, and you can see that this is, in fact, my first win. Total clears 1. Current streak 1, new record. So I let it linger on this screen for a little bit, just so that way you guys can see it, see everything, all the stats. So that was my first clear of Hades. Like I said, I'm really enjoying the game. Hopefully the first of many successful clears, because I intend to keep on playing this game, and I do plan on uploading more runs. Maybe runs, like I said, with some weird builds, unorthodox builds, maybe some close calls, things like that. But anyways, I'm going to let the ending play out so you guys can watch it. This was the first time I had seen the ending, and so since this ending did get added with version 1.0, I know many of you may not have seen the ending yet either, even if you have been playing this game in early access. So I'm going to let you watch that. With all that said, thanks for watching. If you haven't liked the video already, by all means, go ahead and do that, and let me know what you thought. So, I will see you all later.
I made it. Beyond the frozen overlook, await the first glimpse of the sun to your left, then onward through the cold. Sure hope this works, Nyx.
The surface, windswept, racked by freezing cold, nonetheless instills within the prince a sense of awe and the sublime, for it is unlike anything that he has seen.
It's beautiful. That thing. That's the sun. Is this? It can't.
Who's there?
Hello?
Hello indeed. Pray, who might you be wandering all the way out here? You're trespassing on private property, you know. Speak up.
You must be Persephone. My name is Zagreus, and I think I might be your son.
What? How dare! Get out of here! Get out or I shall make you! Out with you!
No, so then you are her. I don't care if you hate me, but I'm not leaving until I get some answers. I never even knew you existed. Why did you leave me?
You died. You died. Those burning feet, they sputtered out when you were born. But now you're standing here before me. How?
I died? I died? What, you mean permanently died? But I'm alive. Oh, gods. You never even knew I existed either.
Alive. Zagreus, he even kept your name. You live. How can this be? You live. You live. Oh, the cruel fates. My son.
Mother. In short, I beat him, finally, though he did everything he could to prevent our meeting here like this. But there's something he wanted me to tell you in the end. He said to tell you Cerberus is doing very well.
Ah, he told you that, did he? That's good. That's good. Though, tell me something, Zagreus. How is it that you found me? To have journeyed all this way, I scarce believe it. Zagreus?
Oh, guess I'm just a little tired, that's all. Not accustomed to the weather, as I think you call it.
No. No, that isn't it. It's that you cannot stay here. You can't stay here.
Really, you're kicking me out? Why?
The fates are cruel, Zagreus. You're bound to that place. Same as your father. So they would have us say goodbye. For now. My heart soars knowing you live. Then it breaks that our time together was so brief.
No, I can come back. I can come back. Now that I found you, maybe he'll just let me come back.
You tell him I demand it. And I demand he also tell me how come he, or for that matter Nyx, never sent notice that you lived. Olympus is all rife with schemers. But I was so naive to think that they were different.
I'll tell him. I'll tell him. I feel awful. I have to go.
The STYX shall take you then. Oh, Zagreus. Farewell, my son. Won't you come back to me? When you are able, please, come back. I shall be waiting here. However long it takes.
However long it takes. Can't hold on. Mother, I have to get back there.